Hey, I want to do a little intro to this very special video. I have 4 of our students here on the Lutin School. In there, we just had a meeting I want to invite you to. It was very special for me because it's not so often you see my wife Lene sitting with a mic in her hand. And it was Hannah, our daughter-in-law. It was Sonni, my son, our son. And it was me and my wife Lene. And it was just a time of Q&A of questions where the students could ask questions. And for me, it was very special. I just felt I wanted to share this with all of you out there because you have never seen this before in any of the videos I've done. And I have some friends here who I just want to ask them, what did you think of them? What do you think of it, and what was special? What do you like, Sam, and what was special for you?
It was really cool for me to see the behind the scenes of Torben's family. I see a lot of Torben. I get to see his videos and teachings, but it's really cool to hear from his family, specifically Sonni. I heard more from him today than I had pretty much the time that I had been here because he's behind the scenes. But I really got to see the influence and just the man that he is, and you can see the influence from it. So it was just really good for me.
Nice.
For me, just seeing like practically how to do things God's way with children, like hearing Hannah share about, submitting her children unto God and her submitting to her husband, and just like the real practical testimonies is just amazing to hear. Yeah.
For me personally, I love it when things get personal. So we got to see, the people behind the stories that we heard in the last years. And also, I just really loved to hear Lene speak about what her personal revelations were in the time when Torben was in jail, and to see how real they are when we meet them here in real life in the school.
Yeah, for me, it was just so important to hear our role models, people we look up to and have lived this life much longer than us, and see how they have gone through struggles that we're facing right now, and just be encouraged, just to live this life, to walk in faith. Yeah, it's just been so amazing.
So it was special for me. I loved it. I really loved it to just be there, and also it's for me, to hear Hannah and Sonni, our son, and Lene and me. It also like God is good. Like I really see that God is faithful. Like even life have been hard and there's struggles and we haven't probably given the kids the normal life. I just see the fruit of this life, and I'm very proud as a father and a father-in-law and to see my wife, strong wife, Lene. Often you don't see the person behind the person, the woman behind, and therefore we really want to invite you to see this. I think it will bless you, and there is many questions that was asked, and see it. God bless you. Beautiful, live the life. See this video. Bye bye.
So last week we had a panel talk where we talked about living by faith. We talked about how to live this life, how we have seen testimonies in our life of God's provision and how He has been speaking to us and guiding us. And today we are kind of going to build a little bit on that, but this time we are going to focus more about living this life as a family. So many of us are probably going to have to learn to live this life as a family, with a husband, with a wife, with children, and today we have invited in our wives, and we are gonna also talk a little bit about it from a family perspective, with children, with our needs as a family, and also even the times that we go through on this journey, like desert periods and other times. And we're just gonna give you opportunity to also ask questions, both to us as a group, but also individual questions if you have like a specific question for someone. And so at this time we just really want to give you the opportunity to also ask questions if you have something on your hearts and things that you have been wondering when it comes to living this life.
Yeah, I would just say it was Sonny's idea, and I like it. I know when we were back in Denmark, at one time we had our time where Sonni and me and some other people was there, and somebody asked Sonni, how is it to go through those trials as your parents have gone through? And his answer at that time, I was just like, whoa. He said, my parents' trials are theirs. I have my own. So he, as a child, did not experience our trials the same way. Even he was part of it, it was not his. It was different. And there was so much wisdom in there. There was so good for people to know that whoa, my children experience things different than I experience it. But also as a parent, whoa, our children have their own trials we are not aware of. And here you have opportunity also like, okay, how is it for Lene with the things we are going through to be the mom on the side? Or how is it for the son to be the son of this family? And then for Sonni now to have his own wife, and for Hannah to be part of this life and crazy family. Like, I will just ask the first question and then I'll give it over to you. Hannah, who's the best father-in-law you ever had? Hannah?
Want to say it?
All right, Torben, it is you. Yeah.
I'm the best and the only one. But okay.
So how did I get my own faith, and not just rely on my parents' faith, kind of, right? So yeah, I grew up in this, and it was very, strong for me as a child, even, because I saw God's moves. I saw, people healed. I saw demons cast out. I saw lives transformed. So as a child, when I grew up, I knew that God, He was real. And I also knew that I had to make my own choice. I had to really decide, what am I going to do about it? And I think because of that, for me, it was a journey. I got filled with the Holy Spirit and baptized when I was young. I was probably 8 years old, and I think after that it was a journey. Where I was learning, I was growing. I was also having to step out more in my own faith. When I was in school and when I was talking with people, I had to get my own beliefs, I had to get my own convictions, and I had to also be able to, argument for what I believed. So I think for me it was this process of knowing God was real because of what I experienced when I grew up, and then really also learning to walk in it myself and also be my own person. And I think for me it was especially when I was maybe like 16 years old, where I was at this it was almost like a Bible school in some way, and there I suddenly had my own discussions about baptism. I had my own discussions about other faith-related things, and because of that, I really had to also figure out what do I believe, what is my convictions, and I think that was a thing that I slowly learned to walk in, I would say.
Yeah, I'll just add there, I did not grow up in a Christian family. Lene grew up in a strong Christian family. I've seen a whole generation grow up in a Christian family who have left their faith. So I thought, for me, it was very important. Of course, we want the kids to follow Christ, but we wanted to go on meetings. There was times I still remember we had Sorry, he did not always like the meetings. There was a little rebellious time there, but he was like, you have to go to meeting. But at the same time, there came to a point where okay, we don't want him to fake it. And as a leader in the church, it was hard in that sense. Everyone looked at us and wanted our kids to be the most holy. But then we also come to the point where okay, we need to let them be themselves to really find their own faith. And I think that is very, very important, to really give them the space to just find God themselves. And that's something we have tried to do.
I think another thing is also one thing is that I grew up in it, and that I saw God was real and all these things. But besides that, I also saw the life. I saw the way that they were living. I saw God's provision. I saw how God was speaking to them and directing them in their lives. And I think, even that has been really important in my own journey, because, when I then stand in those situations myself, I have an example, to follow. And I think that has been really strong for me, because I have the testimonies before me of God's provision, of how God has been speaking. And I think that's something that has really strengthened me on my own walk.
And I would say, especially the provision is so. What is the cake? Entombeo. You don't know that. But there is something called entombeo. It's a cake, an ice cream cake. For us as a family, it became our thing. Like, we need God to provide. We need God. And every time he came, let's take an entombeo cake. So every time we bought that cake and we just celebrate as a family, let's eat entombeo. God came through. He provided one more time. So we somehow, the family was part of, okay, we need God now. Like, we don't have this. We need God to provide. But every time when he really provided, we gather the family and eat an entombeo cake. So it became like a celebration, I think. So they really saw God's the struggle, but also saw God's provision. And I think that was really real for them, that they saw, whoa, God, he just did miracles after miracles. So, yeah. So if there's times in our life we doubted the things of God. Existence. No. Next. No, I would say no, not for me. I haven't, no. But there's many other things, like, did God really say this? And what about this? Is it the right timing? Is it not the right timing? My God, why have you forsaken me? Where are you right now? And yes, many times. But not the existence. I think we are so brainwashed in life Holy Spirit, that haven't been there. I don't have enough faith to believe that God is not real. But to many other things, there have been a lot of doubt and a lot of fear, and there's still doubt in areas. And I think that doubt is healthy sometimes. Yeah. Sonni?
No, I never doubted it. I think, when you really see the Spirit move, you see all of the healings and the transformations and all of these things. I didn't doubt it, no.
I would say first time I experienced a Holy Spirit leading or provision, you can think, yeah, that incident alone, you could be lucky, Torben, or it could be a coincidence. But when it happens again, okay, it could be a coincidence, but you're really lucky. Then it happens again, you're really, really, really lucky. And in the end, you just you see God's hand in it. And I think it's because we lived out there. I think you can be in church and out because you've never seen God's hand in your life. Because you always live too safe. Don't live a safe life. Don't live a life where you don't need miracles to survive. Live a life out there where you really truly need to see God's hand. Because it's out there you see God's hand, and then you don't have that struggle and doubt and fear. Then you have other things you maybe struggle with, but not like other people who live a more normal life. Yeah. You like her to share the bad side of the story? No, the good side of the story, how we met.
Yeah. So, I have my own story, so he's telling often his, but actually it was, I don't know, it came to that point not so long time before we met that I just had the sense I really want to serve God, and I was praying a lot in my bedroom at home and with my parents, and I just felt like, okay, I was really praying for the right husband, and I had at some point that I felt, okay, that's the next thing that needs to happen. Because I was really on fire. I really wanted to serve God, but I was not very bold. I was even more shy than I am now. So I knew that I needed somebody to do it with. So I had felt that. So and then some time after that, maybe months after that, I went with my parents to a summer camp. Where we stayed at the summer camp for some days, and I think maybe the first day already, I saw that guy. So I thought, oh, and me and my parents, we went to many meetings all around Denmark. Denmark's not so big, so we often went to Christian meetings around the country. So I kind of knew that the guy he was walking with, he was from another city, but I hadn't seen that guy before. So I thought, okay, he may be new. Okay, yeah. And then one evening at that summer camp, we went out to evangelize. And I was kind of watching him a little bit because he was already up there in front. He was, he just wanted to, preach. So, tell people about God. So I was kind of watching him. Oh, okay. And I remember at that camp, we were both at that camp for some days. And I remember we smiled to each other maybe a few times. So I just had, okay, God, if it's you, God, then it needs to be something, not just that smiling thing, because that's not good for much. So, and then the last evening, after I prayed that thing, the last evening, suddenly I saw him turn around a few times, like he had told. I was kind of, okay, something is happening there. So, it was kind of funny. So, but we didn't talk. We just smiled to each other, and I just had that experience with me home. So I could pray more at home, and he did so too. And then some months after, my parents told that, okay, we're going to a meeting in that church. And I kind of knew where he was from, out from the other people he was walking around with. So I kind of, okay, that must be that church. He's probably there then. So I thought, okay, let me just take the same dress on then. Because he was looking a lot that evening. So I thought, okay, that's smart, right? So, no, just, a girl thing. So I took the same dress on. And I came that evening, and I was prepared, of course, a little bit, but he was not prepared. So suddenly he just saw me. He was so, I don't know, he couldn't concentrate on anything.
But let me tell my story. Just before that summer camp, I've been desperate at one time to find a girl because I had a girlfriend. I was in a breakup and I was not used to be alone. But I really felt like, no, it's not now. I need to just date God. I need to focus on God. So when we saw each other and smiled, I really didn't really take it in. Before that evening, God said, the one behind you is going to be your wife. Afterward, we talked and like, hey, I actually think, and then later we talked, I think, did I see you there at the stairs? Yeah. So I really didn't, I smiled, but I didn't take it in because I was just not in that mood that was not my focus. So, but that night when she came in that dress, I was a usher in the church. Remember, I was like walking there and like, hey, and greeting people and with people. And I was outside and I remember there was a small kid running up there and I took him and take him down and helping and I was walking and then I saw her. And suddenly I couldn't be in my body anymore. I felt like I was walking like this and I was doing everything wrong. And it just like, so again, that was my story and that was her story and yeah. More?
Yeah, and then there was more days in that. So I think we came another evening. No, we got to talk that evening, right? Yeah, and then he was newly saved, so he didn't know how to do this thing. So he was asking me and a friend I knew a little bit I was with. So he was asking, do you want to go with me out shopping because I'm free this Saturday? I was thinking, let's see. You can come home and visit me at Seoul, and then okay, at my parents' place. So
I have no idea. Like, what do you do? Hey, let's go and drink. let's go and dance. Like, I have no idea. So she stood there, hi. I'm free on Saturday. Do you and your friend want to go shopping with me?
That was a big thing.
That was a big thing. I hate shopping. But I was like, that's the only thing I do. And then she said, no, you can come and meet my parents. Okay. That was a big thing. Yeah. But we will go more in detail later. We'll do a meeting later where we talk about dating and relationship and so on. But we'll leave that for now. Yeah. More questions?
I think for me, many times it's like, for example, one time we had to move and we thought we had a house, so we kind of canceled the house we had. And then suddenly the other house didn't work out. So then we were kind of pushed out there. So I think that's often how we have experienced that, okay, we don't have other choices. So we kind of take that step now, or we are in it. So then we see God move. So yeah, it's not like we just take a step that kind of crazy and don't know anything. Yeah, it's not like God is pushing us.
It's not like testing God and like, hey, we just test you. But it's like putting God first and he leads us. And sometimes he closed some doors we thought there was open and we stand there and have no option. Or we save up money, and what my experience is, if you save up money, God knows how to get rid of those money. So there is suddenly no saving anymore. And then you're out there. And I think we have seen God have managed again and again and again to close those safe doors, to get rid of those savings, to actually put us in a place where we felt like now we are not safe. Now it's only him. So it's not like we test him, but it happens. And it happens more than one time. And I think for us, it have always been that focus, like, God, what do you want us to do? If he said go, go. I remember often with Lene, as now we talk about man being role in the family and go ahead. I remember there was times I said to her, like, Lene, let's do this and this. And she said, no way. I really don't feel. Or often she said, what do God said? Because what is important for her is not just Torben's idea. What is important for her is that I really spend time with God. I've heard God speak, and it's not just crazy Torben, but it's really God said. Because if it's crazy Torben, she don't trust it. But if God who speaks, she's more like, okay, then God, he will take care of us. So for us, it's really God. We seek him, and he speaks, and then we take the first step, not seeing all details. And then as we walk in faith, we start to see how things fall in place. About the children, Sonni can say something. As I said before, in the beginning, I was worried for the children. But as time went on, I would say, do it for the children. Because if I look at our generation of parents who have a nice job and a nice house and a nice church and a nice Sunday school, they have kids who have fallen away from faith. We did not have a nice job. We did not have a nice house. We did not have a nice church. We did not have a nice Sunday school. And we have kids who love Jesus because they've seen the miracles. So I would say, what do children need? They don't need saved. They need miracles. And miracles is coming out there when you put God first and step out.
Yeah, I think for Hannah and I, we have really, when we got married, we got married with the idea that we wanted to serve God together and we wanted to live out the call that he has for us. And I really see that in our marriage, there's been so much unity and surrender. Hannah and I, we are both surrendered to God and to his will. And I can see that has really created a unity, because when God, he speaks, when the Spirit is directing us, he directs us as one. Because we are no longer two, but we are one. When we got married, we were one. And the Spirit sees us as one. And that's something in our life also that has been really important, that it's not just one person saying this is the direction, but we always want to find that unity. We always want to test it. And, sometimes we might see it different for a short time, but then we want to come together and we want to pray about it and really find out what is God's will, because we want to come back to that unity where we are walking together. And I think that's something that's been really important for us every time we make a decision, that we both have this peace. And I think when you have that peace, both of you, it's not just a matter of, I say we do this and I take the responsibility on me, but it's we test it together and we decide this is where God is leading us. And together we trust that if God tells us to do this, He will also provide. He will also open the doors. And I think that's something that's been really important in our marriage. Another thing is that we are still different as husband and wife. And in our family, Hannah and I, Hannah doesn't know how much money we have. She doesn't, see our bank accounts. I have believed that that's my responsibility. This is how we do it as a couple. And I think that has been very healthy for us, because a part of being the spiritual leader is also when it comes to finances, because that's kind of, finance is a little bit like time. The money we have, the time we have, it kind of determines what we can do and what we're gonna do, right? And I think because of that, I also really see that, it's my responsibility also to be faithful with our funds as a family. Of course, that also means that when we are in times of need, I'm the one that is really seeking God, making sure that, we're on the right path, that trusting that God is going to provide and all of these things. And I think that's just, the way that we have been convicted to do it. And I think that, it really helps us to walk together in a healthy marriage, trusting God.
I say, Hannah, if you say something, Hannah comes from a good Christian family. Her father is a pastor in a church, and she came on the Lutheran school. Her brother had been on the Lutheran school before her. So can you say something maybe, because it was still a good family, very good family, loved Jesus, but they were not, they were more the same place for many, many years. You grew up the same place. Her father was a teacher on the local school and she lived there. And when you came into this family, you live all over the world and been in other countries and so on and so on. Can you maybe, how do you see that and coming into this life and the difference?
Yeah, that was different. But what was really special, actually, when I'm not going to tell my whole story, but when I was born, my name is Hannah, and in Sweden you spell it without the H in the end. But my parents felt, no, she needs the international spelling with the H in the end, because already there, God had put on their hearts that Hannah, she will be one that travels for Jesus. So I think in their hearts, they knew I would be out there. And growing up, I always had a desire to be a missionary. And then coming into this beautiful family was such a prayer answer for me, actually. But I remember it was such a, I grew up in a city for 20 years with 500 people. We all knew each other. And I just remember it was such a contrast also for my father, because he was a lot into, you need an education, you need a job, you need an income, and all of that. So when Sonni and I, we got married and we started to live by faith, not having a job or income, I remember it was really challenging for him. And I remember he always asked, but where is the money coming from? And how do you do it with finances? And what about this and this? But actually, we didn't need to really speak so much with my father, but rather show it with our lives. And every time we come to visit, we had those testimonies about God's provision and how he had been faithful every single time. And for him, that was really big. But it was definitely a contrast.
And what now as a mom?
Yes. So back to the previous question. For me as a mother, living this life with now 4 small children, it has been beautiful, but super challenging in many areas, because it's really a life of, like Sonni said, surrenderance to the Lord. And there has been so many tears and cry out for me to the Lord, because it's really a life not relying on your own wisdom and your own understanding, because the world, can tell us that your children need stability, they need this and this and this, and everything sounds very good and it makes sense, much of what you hear. But then again, it has always been a constant, surrendering our own understanding and will to the Lord. And there has been times where we have not been affording diapers, where we have been in such a desperate place to even, need to trust God for provision for food and diapers. So that was really powerful.
I want to add to that. Don't do things because other people have faith to do it. It's so important here. And it's really come down to that walk. You have to have your own walk with God, and you have your own struggle, and you have your own faith, and you have your own testimony, and your own breakthrough. We can learn from each other, but everyone needs to really walk their own walk in all of this. And that is what it comes down to. The question is, we talk about unity here. Do you have a place where there was a big decision and where we did not agree on it, and how was that solved? I can share first. You can share. Times where I just know it's God. I say, we're going to do it. I don't want to, but it's God. Where she's like, okay, do you know it's God? Yeah, it's God. Okay, then we do it. But it's your responsibility. It's on me. Because it's me who's the head. It's me that get the blame. It's me. And she decides to submit and follow, and it's on me. And I think, but there has been time where she needs to make sure, Torben, it's not just your idea now. You are really saw God, and you need to go. And I think most of the time, God have confirmed it. He have given a word to her, a word to me, or confirmation. So we somehow still, she didn't understand, we're still on the same page. There have also been time with Lene. There often it works in our family. God often speaks to Lene about things and say, we do this. And my first response is no. And I can become a little stressful and irritated, and say, okay, now you go and pray, Torben. Okay. And then I go and pray, and I found out, okay, it is really God. But I'm still the one make the decision. So she come with it, I take it, I go to God, and then I'm the one who said the word, okay, let's do it. So that is how it works. It always so loud here. Do you want to?
Yeah, maybe it's just my memory. Yeah, I don't really remember any big decision we didn't agree on, actually. No, I don't. Yeah.
I'm so easy to be married with.
I didn't say that, but I guess nobody is. I think, because we both want to serve God, that's, then he speaks. It's not always, sometimes God tells you to do things your flesh don't really want too much, but you still know inside that's the right thing. So I have to do it no matter what. So that's how it works for us.
So say like that, if both people start with that, it not my will be done by his will. Then if you don't agree, it's because some of you is not hearing correctly or seeking God. And then when you come in and see God, the Holy Spirit is speaking the same thing, and then we do it. And sometimes the Spirit speaks first to me, and she seek, or most times for some things it's her, and then I seek, and then we come on the same page.
Okay, so I have 2 examples. Yeah. So there was one time where we were living in France, and we were living there for 2 years. And we had 2 kids at that point, pregnant with Abigail. And then the Lord told us to travel to America and be a part of a Luke 10 school. And we just packed our bags, thinking we would be there for 3 months. So we just packed clothes and we went. And then being in the US for 3 months, and then it was time to go back to France, we thought. And I was really pregnant at that time. So we were praying, okay, Lord, where are we giving birth? Because we knew we couldn't give birth in America because our visa was extending. So we're like, okay, let's go back to France. And we started to pray about it. We had no peace about that. And then the Lord spoke to us and said, you're going to give birth in Sweden. That's where I'm from. And so we're like, okay, Lord, let's go back to Sweden. And we only had my parents' place to go back to, but we were really praying, Lord, please give us our own place, just for that time before giving birth and after. And when we came there 2 days later, someone reached out to my parents because they knew we were coming home, saying, we have a place for Sonni and Hannah. If they need a place to stay, they can stay for free as long as they want. It was just such a beautiful prayer answer. So we went to this cabin, we stayed, we gave birth. And then we thought, okay, what made sense to us after that was to go back to France and to we felt we were done, finished with France, but we felt we should go there and, finish it up, pack down our things and say goodbye to everyone. We started to pray about it, but the Lord had other plans. And Sonni started to feel like we shouldn't go back at all. And I was like, but Sonni, we have all of our things there, everything, like all our material stuff, all of our baby things, all of our baby clothes, everything for the baby, all of our things we had there. But Sonni was like, nah, Hannah, I think we're going straight to the US. We are going back to the US. And I was really challenged by that. But he had such a peace and confidence, like he really felt like that was the Lord's will. And I remember we went to bed that same day and Sonni fell asleep and I was laying up and I was crying out to the Lord, like, Lord, if this is really your will, I don't want to be the one bringing, doubt to Sonni. I really, truly want to obey your will if this is your will. But I hadn't felt any peace about it. But I was just crying out to the Lord, like, please, Lord, give me something to hold on to. And that same night, God gave me a dream about us needing to leave to the US without hesitation. So when I woke up that night, I knew we needed to go, and I was in such a peace in it. So the day after, we called our landlords in France. We told them we're spirit-led, spirit-filled people. We told them we are not coming back. We are going to the US. Please, and then we called some of our friends that were staying in France. We told them, go and take everything you want. Whatever you want from our apartment, take it. We bless you with it. And it was so beautiful because one sister had prayed, Lord, I need furnitures for apartment. So it was just such a beautiful timing. She could just go and be blessed by our furnitures and our things. And there was such a joy in blessing that one sister. But I remember that was really such a struggle for me and battle, because it was really hard just giving everything up. But that was beautiful.
So the question is, how do you deal with getting children and prevention? And how do you see God's guidance in that and trust Him in how many you should get?
For the way for us is that we when we got kids, we went Denmark, and Denmark is like 1.7 kids they have, or something like that. And we got one, we started early, we got two, we got three. We actually knew of no one. We didn't know crazy families with 8 kids as we have here. We did not know that, and in America there's many families who have many more kids. At that time, we actually we were like, okay, 3 is enough for us. That was what we felt at that time, and we stopped, and I got cut. So we did that, so we didn't get more kids. We were seeing God at time, and I didn't got any clear direction, to be honest. It was just what we felt. Now when I look back, of course I'm thinking kids is a blessing, and since we came out of Denmark and started to travel, we have met many more with many big families, and I was like, oh, it could now have been nice. But at that time, I think we did what we knew. We had no one around us who had more. We did not know more. We were still young. Sonni, what year were you born to? 98? So he was born 98. So we were 20-some, 21, 22 when we got him. And then we got next. Simone was born 2005. So I would say we are around 29 when she was born. And so we could have continued, but in our world at that time, it was just, no. I don't know. Like, when I look back, like, okay, Simone demands a lot, you know. I don't think we could handle more like her. But at the same time, now when she's moved from home and married, we could have 3 more if it was, no. No, I think, you know, it was what we did at that time. And we did not know better. And I think it's how it is. I don't know. It was our decision, our choice. We prayed. I looked into that time. We know kids is a blessing. That is all we know. We know there's many people grow up and say like, no, was birth control. No birth control. I met many people who are very radical. No birth control, first baby. No second, no third, no fourth, no, yeah, maybe. Maybe now. Maybe we should consider. Because when, like, do you go to 16 or not? How far can you go? And I think it's difficult. I don't have the answer. I really believe people need to see God in it, and that is our take. So I will not put a rule up because I don't have the answer. Sadly, kids have become many kids have become difficult in a society we have built. But in the society of the Bible, the time of the Bible, it was just a very different world. It was all surrounding kids, and they had many of them. So I think each need to make their decision. What do you say? I would like some more grandkids.
I think it's Simone and Joshua's turn.
Yeah, but I could do 4 more from you. Like,
I think so little backstory. So Hannah and we got married young. I was just turned 18 when we got married, and before we got married, we were talking, and we were not even sure if we wanted children. And we were just thinking, we're gonna be missionaries, we're gonna serve God, and we didn't really see the point of us having children, at least not right away. And so that was kind of, our, backstory. But then before we got married, just like a short time before, God really started working in our hearts and really started to also show us that it was selfish motives, that we didn't want to have children. We really felt like God, He was convicting us that we also needed to trust His plan when it comes to children. And I think when we got married, we knew that we were going to have children young. We knew that it was a part of God's plan because God had really changed our heart on that point. And it took us maybe 2-3 months, and Hannah, she was pregnant. And at that time, we knew that it was God's will for us, and we had just really come to a point where we were ready to also trust God when it comes to children. And so we got our first child, and it was a blessing. We got our second child, still a blessing. We got our third child, and it was also a blessing. We got our fourth child. It was a little challenging, but he's amazing. So now he's a blessing. But the idea of getting the fourth child was a little challenging for me, because it does require something with a lot of small children. But I think what we've really seen is that for us it was really a part of God's plan that we should get children young, because it's also something that we really have on our heart, with also, working with the body and all these things. And having children really teaches you so much about also spiritual babies and spiritual children. And so for us, we just really see, now looking back, that it was really, God's will for us. I think right now we are seeking God. on His will, because at the same time, it's I think it's really important, like even in the spiritual sense, like when we see people born again, they become our responsibility. It's not just seeing them born, but you have to also be there. You have to walk with them. You have to share life with them. And I can see, even for us now with 4 small children, it does require something for us, and it's something we also still really want to be faithful in. So I think right now we are still trusting God, but I think we also do believe that, it's important for us also to have the time when it comes to spending time with our children.
Let's do another question. Let's recap what was just being said, put it all together. It's time for Simone and Joshua to have children. That was what we learned. Okay. So next question. Have you heard example of hearing God's voice and you step out and thought it was God's decision, but it was not, or God's voice? I would say, I think a very, very important thing is first, God speaks. But one thing that is more important is when it's when, and how is it? And I think there's many times we felt God spoke, but we were wrong of the timing, or we were wrong of how it happens. But very often we say we felt God put in our hearts, time to move. Now move a new place. And we know it's time to move. And in our own flesh, we try to find a house and try to find everything and so on. Instead of sometimes come to a point where, okay, we know it's God, but we need to surrender that and say, God, what now? When is now? And how do you want us to move? And I think I probably more example of that, where we know God speaks and then we do our own fighting in the flesh first and try to get it to work and it don't, and we give up. And when we give up, suddenly God comes and it happens what He spoke. So I think mainly more that. I don't know if you have something.
We had a time some years ago where we thought that God wanted us to go back to Australia. We had already been there 2 times, and we thought that maybe it was God's step for us to go back there again. And we actually really started, taking some steps, and we were looking for Joshua. We were looking for a place to stay in Australia, and we were even trying to order the tickets. We had the money, but every time we tried ordering the tickets, it didn't go through. And so every time we went to order the tickets, I would pray, God, if this is not your will, close the door. And it did it every time. I think there was like 4 separate days where I tried ordering the tickets, and every single time something went wrong. And after 4 times, I was like, okay, maybe this is not God's will for us. And so we kind of let go of the idea of going to Australia, and then short time after, God, He really spoke and sent us to France instead. So I guess we didn't actually go through with it, but it was a time where we had to see God redirect us.
I'm so happy God, He knows how to close doors. And very often when I share testimony, the truth is that, not very often, many times it happens as God spoke. But He speaks, and then there's a lot of between. We try, it didn't work, we try, it's not this, it's not now, it did not succeed. Back, we will do doors in your face, back and forth, and then suddenly it happens. And I knew it, God is faithful. So it's just to line in with that. So, yeah. Other questions?
I think for me, one thing I thought about was that we have been traveling a lot and doing Kickstart in many different countries also and so, as family. And I really appreciate that a lot, that we could do it as family. But for me, of course, not every person is the same. But for me, it looks more like I'm part of it, but still I'm not doing the same. I have enjoyed that anyway, that I got to meet the same people. I got to see people's life changed, and the kids also got to see it. But it don't mean that when you're taking care of the kids that you're doing everything, because the wife's job is when you have kids, at least that's the family you need to take care of first. And I think that's very important also, because I see some families, I think it's been easy for me because I don't really have that issue so much, but I can see some families, if they're very outgoing, the woman, and just want to be out there all the time, it gives some challenge and sometimes back in the family, because the kids still need you, there still needs to be food, there's still a lot of other things. So I think it's important to just, the kids are the most important, and take care of your husband also and those things. So it's also serving God in that way. So yeah.
I can just say fast, when we got married in a church, there was many young couples who got married at the same time. We got children, many other couples got children, and most people just disappear from the radar. You didn't see them at the meeting, you didn't see them at the conference, you didn't see them anywhere. And we just decided it should not be like that. So our kids were sleeping in the meetings, in the chairs, under the conference. They was always there, they were sleeping on the floor. And it took more work, but it works. Then when I start to do ministry and travel, we make a decision like, I don't want to just be out there, and I want to travel. Like, when we were in jail, that was the longest time we were away from each other, of course. Before jail, the longest time we ever been away from each other is 2 weeks. And we have been all over the world. And so Simone, when she was like 10 years, 12 years old, she had been flying so many times that she could go in front of the line in the airport because she had a special pass, because she's a frequent flyer for 10 years old. It cost money, it was more complicated. When we were out there, we could not be as active with meetings as if I did not have my family with me. But we make a decision, let's do it as a family. And I think that had really saved us, where other families they lived two different separated lives. One do ministry and one do nothing. So Lene, how many Kickstarts have you been at? Like, if I say I'm going to do the foreground teaching, she's still sitting there and smiling. And she has heard that teaching 35 times. There's nothing new. But still she's there, and the girls is there, and it's how it is. And that really worked good for us.
Yeah, I remember when I had David, I remember telling God, okay, God, now my life is over. Now I can't do anything more for you. That was how I felt like, because I was so used to just go, be out on the streets and do a whole lot of things. But I just remembered that really God needed to take me on a journey of learning how to be a mother, and learning to take care of, my new disciple. And that has been looking very different from season to season. And it never stopped us from traveling. Like, we have never felt, okay, now we have a baby, we need to settle. That has never been our focus. It has always been seeking the kingdom first. As you know, we have been traveling so much. But I think for me, like, it's not because I'm super evangelistic in that sense. I love to share Jesus with others, but for me it has more been a natural thing. I remember we had a season in Florida where every day together with kids we were just asking, Lord, what do we do today? And I just felt, today we're going to the pool, because we had like a public pool. And we went to the pool, and there we had conversations with people about Jesus. We could pray for people. We went to the playground, and it was just me being a mother, but at the same time just being a light. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think if you get your kids used to go out there, even though you're just maybe taking care of them as a woman, but you still bring them, they also get more flexible. That's the way, because it's not good for a marriage either if the husband is always out there and the woman is sitting back with the kids. It don't help anybody, because other people also want to see the family, and it's important that you're on the same page and stay there and meet the same people, have the same connection, know the same people, it just makes the whole difference, I would say. Even though you can't do everything that your husband do while you're out there, but still, as much as you can, I would encourage, bring them, do it together, and just do it in a different way, but still do it. And your kids will also learn to be flexible and don't have to sleep at the right time always, but just, they also get used to it.
Just end up with this. We have so many memories together as family. Like we can share, hey, Australia, South Africa, and Israel, and those different places, because we did it together. If I should have been traveling alone, I would sit here with a full, many experience and many people I know, and I would be divided from my wife in that, because I don't have that memory with her and we don't know the same people. So even she's not doing exactly what I'm doing out there, she experienced the same country, she meet the same people, she know who I'm talking about because she have met them. And I think that gives us that strength that we do things together.
Yeah, and I think also for Hannah and I, like the thing that we know the same people and we are the same place also really helps us as a couple, because, you know, we do see things different and we do things different. And I think sometimes, you know, the fact that we share, you know, knowledge of people and what's going on helps us also to just talk together and also use our discernment together. I think that's something that's been very important to us, like, you know, that I'm able to share my life with Hannah. You know, I'm able to go and talk with her about, you know, people or situations, like what do you think is the right thing, or what is your discernment in this thing, and I think that helps us because we are still in it together, and I think that's been really important to us also. Another question. So this is more from the wife's perspective on how to support the husband when you are in those situations where you really need to trust God for provision.
Yeah, I would say it's really important who you spend your time with. Because when you're stepping out there in faith, it means so much who you are together with. That's kind of mean everything. Because maybe sometimes you need to travel to visit those friends that kind of on the same page as you. But still do it. It's all worth it because you need it. Because people around you, maybe your family or who else it is, they don't understand you, so they won't support you in that. And the human thinking, it kind of, if you hear all those wise words, it can kind of, oh yeah, it sounds right. But if it's God tells you to do something else, you really need to be surrounded with some people that goes the same. Or talk at least with some people. That's really important.
I think for me, I've really learned the power of interceding for Sonni and praying for my husband, both for the Lord really to guide him and lead him, but also, even if I see something like wrong in him or where I'm concerned, you know, instead of like, you know, going to him maybe directly and saying it, maybe there is a place for that sometimes, you know, but the power of really interceding for my husband, that has been really powerful, and encouraging him to spend the time with the Lord and in his word. Yeah.
I think from my side, I think it means a lot to just know that Hannah, she's surrendered, that she's really, you know, willing to do whatever God says and however God he directs. I think for me that helps me because I feel like we're in it together. And I think that's been really important.
Lene have gone through a lot the last years, and when I was in jail, there was things God taught me. What did God teach you in that same time and period? How was it for you?
Yeah, one of the things I know that was strong for me was that I really felt how I needed the body of Christ. So that was something God was really teaching me at that situation, because normally if I had problems, troubles, or a hard day, then I could just go to my husband, right, or my family. But I still had my family. But even that time when I was sick, in the end, I couldn't really talk to people so much. So I needed to go to God with everything, and I saw how I really need the body of Christ even more. I think for me it was a big lesson because our life has been so changing. We have been moving around so much, and we have from place to place, and relationship and friends. It's a little hard sometimes because you need to break up all the time, go from place to place. So and if on the journey, many things have also happened, so you kind of lose that trust sometimes for people. So you kind of, in the end, maybe stuck more only to your husband or your kids. So in that period, I needed really to, also just trust the body of Christ, and I really see that I needed that. So I think for the end time, it's really important that we have each other. Also, just the thing that maybe some people, you don't feel like it's your type, just to be honest, but then God just suddenly put them, and they're the only one. Okay, and they're very nice, you figure out, and they love you. Okay, that's something there. So it was really a teaching for me that we need each other. Also, when the persecution will come, it doesn't really matter if we don't agree in everything, or the way we behave, or small details, how we think things should be. But we need each other, especially for the last times here. Yeah. Yeah, and then one thing that was also big in the beginning when he was in jail, I felt over it kind of. I felt okay, I can make it. It's going okay. God is faithful. I can do this. And I was so busy. I didn't almost see the kids, even though they were in the house. But it was just, I was so busy trying to get him out, or legal things and all those things. And then suddenly everything just crashed, and I couldn't do almost anything. So in that season, I really felt like I've been known for telling people that God is faithful and He's in control, and it was kind of my saying to people. So it was really important for me that after this season, I will still be able to say God is faithful. And it was really important for me because that's just what matters, right? In the end, that you can trust Him with everything. And in the last months, we were at the camp with Andrew and Gabby that's here, and they really took so good care of us. And sorry. Yeah, and that campground, there was a huge tree, and almost all I could do was go for my walks to pray and just walk, and then I used my energy on when Torben calls, and just talk with him. And there was a big tree on that camp, and I went for my walks. And in the end, it was so hard to just get through the day. So in the morning, I often went to that tree. It was just next to the water, and I was just thinking about Psalm 1, that the tree was planted next to the water. So I was just praying almost every day, God, give me what I need for this day. And I was just, often I couldn't really think that in my own strength, I couldn't make it, kind of. And most days I then came back in the evening and just, okay, thank you, God, I made it this day too. So God is faithful. And I really saw that, even though it was many days, there was just totally up here, but God still make it through. And in the end, when I needed to travel with the girls to Germany to to meet with Torben, I could really see God's plan and everything, because then it ended up that Andrew and Gabby, they just took with me, and her mom lived in Germany, so he just had worked everything out. And even the trip was so huge step for me, but everything just went so good, and God was faithful another time there. So it's just, it was beautiful to see. Yeah.
When you go through hard times and women have more emotions, and how do you deal with that? I would say when we were in jail, being in jail was really one thing. That was really, 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 really hard. But the spiritual attack was much more harder. We had many conflicts with many people. People tried to help us and tried to help us their way, and it did not work. And being in a family was thrown from place to place. And what we really saw was that there was things God had spoken to us about. We have got a word, a promise, or the thing God is faithful. But it was like everyone else did not understand us, because they didn't have the same promise. They didn't have the same journey. They did not have the same word. So for us, we really need to be careful who we listen to. Because we felt that if we spoke to people, they would just take all faith out of us. They would actually try to help us, but they did not help us. They make it so much worse. So for us, there was many times in this faith journey that we were totally isolated. It was only me and Lene. And sometimes we couldn't talk. And sometimes we talked just very, God is faithful, remember, God is faithful, it will be good. And what we saw was often like, there was a period, she was very, very strong. Like in the beginning of jail, to listen to her voice, it was like, to take that phone and I was sitting at the phone. Sorry. There's a lot of noise in the jail and shout and problems. And I woke up in the morning, and when I finally could come out after the count time, I sat there and I called, and I was sitting there and closed my eyes and was just like waiting, putting all noise out and the problems. And then I was just waiting for her to say like, hi, and just hear her voice. It was so good. And there was just time where I just needed it. That was like me giving life to me. Then there was other times. There was a time we spoke like 20 minutes, half hour at a time. And then when Lene became sick, we sort of couldn't speak. It was like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Like, how are you? Okay, I'm praying for you. Okay. And I don't have energy to talk. Okay, let's talk later. So we called often at one time, but it was maybe like 2, 3, 4 minutes. And I missed that conversation. I really missed that. And so there I tried to be strong, and I was there for her and giving her words. So I think we really saw how we help each other. There was time where she was strong and she just spoke faith and encouragement. And there was times I was strong and I spoke faith and encouragement. And to just be there for each other, it was really amazing. And the truth was, I felt we have no others. Like, even we have a lovely friends who met us. It was just like they didn't understand it. They didn't understand us. They didn't understand the journey. Like, one of the hardest issue, I would say, was the legal team and the money we needed. I don't like to think of it today, how much money this cost. People gave from all over the world, and it just went to lawyers. But we felt so much pressure. You need to have somebody who do fundraising. You need to have somebody who do this. We need $100,000 more. So much pressure. And we're like, no, we cannot. We can do this, but we cannot do that. And Lene needs to do a video, and she had to go out, and she had to do fundraising. She had to ask money. No, we cannot. You have to. And there was so much pressure, and we were just like, we looked at each other and we decided like, okay, this is going to end at one time, and we don't want to lose ourselves. We want to be able to look ourselves in our eyes when this is over. So we need to stand firm against and say, no, this is not who we are. Yeah, but everyone else do that, but we are not everyone else. We cannot go this way. We cannot do like this. We cannot follow your advice. Lene is not a person who do that. I'm not a person who do that. We don't do like this. And it was really, really hard because we have so many people trying to run our life. I was in jail. She was outside. Decision needs to be made. And she needs to get decision on many things. I was the one who was normally making the decisions, and I only had the phone, and it was really, really hard.
Yeah, but I think, like your question also, I think like you just need to still go after what you feel in your heart. You not just, even though you feel like things are totally up here, you just need to, even though in those hard times where you're crying or whatever, you just need to still keep on doing what you know is right. And that's what you need to keep on to, even though you feel pressure from outside or whatever. You just need to do what you feel is right in your heart still, because then God will take care of you. And like we also told it, so like he said, okay, after this we need to be able to also feel that it was right what we did, even though we were under pressure, right? So it's only for a season. So God also tests our hearts, and so go after your heart still.
One more.
Yeah, I have just a short example also on that shortly. When we were in Denmark, I've always wanted to homeschool. And that has always made sense to me, and that has felt right. But then when we came to Denmark, the Lord started to speak to us about putting David into school. And I remember that went against everything that I had ever, wanted for my children and felt I should do. And all Christians, sisters and brothers, they are often, for homeschooling, that's the way to go. And I agreed. So I was being confused. That was not what I felt the Lord spoke to us. And I remember just really going there in the forest, like crying out to the Lord, like, Lord, I don't understand this. And there we received, wisdom from, like I said, sisters and brothers, like, no, homeschooling is, the way to go. But it just I didn't have peace. Sonni and I, we didn't have peace. And then the same night, God gave me a dream. And in the dream, I was talking with a sister about putting my kids into school. But when I said it, I started to cry and she looked me in the eyes, Hannah, why is it so hard for you to put your kids into school? And my answer in the dream was, I'm afraid of whatever everyone else is going to think of me as a mother. And then when I woke up, I knew, wow, I have fear of men. And I think often maybe that's what it comes down to. When we seek the Lord and we hear wisdoms from others. But it's like Torben said, it is really about what is the Lord speaking to your heart about. It can look so different. And of course it needs to be aligned with the Word of God always. But in the Word of God, it doesn't say, if we should put this in school or not. But yeah, it's really about our hearts, what the Lord speaks to us. Yeah. But now the Lord asked us to take them out of school. So now we're doing homeschooling. So I got it somehow back, and I'm very thankful for that. Yes.
Okay, one last question. So I guess, how do you raise children when you are living this life for God?
Yeah, I can say something. Just
No, I just thought about the question we had earlier. I think for us it was really important as they grow up a little bit, at least just take them in. If, for example, we needed a house, we need to move it, so we just take the kids in and tell them, okay, that's the situation, so we need to pray now. Because then they're part of it, and then they are part of the celebration, like you heard before. So I think that's really important to, as soon as they grow up a little bit, take them in. So it's not just mom and dad that have the whole testimony experience, but also, yeah.
I think we grow up, like for me with homeschool, for example, that was not in my radar. We did not know it existed. We think there's only one person, some people who are very qualified to teach our kids, and that is the school. They're the only one who is qualified to do anything like that. And then I've started to find out that the whole school system is a new idea. Like, it was not God's design that we should raise kids and put them in institution and let other people spend 8 hours every day with our kids and raise them up. And now they go to school early. I know in France, how old are they? 3 years old, or Switzerland, 3 or 4 years old when they start. It's so weird. Try to imagine this. So I think we are so institutionalized, to use that word, that we have an idea that the only way to raise up kids is getting them into the institution. The only way to follow Christ is be in an institution, in a church, with a Sunday school, all of that. So I think we have some very clear idea and pattern of life that's just not biblical. And I've seen that the main thing kids need is a mom and dad. I think that is the best thing you can give a kids, mom and dad. Even more than friends and social thing. They need mom and dad. And I've just seen that, so there is a different way. Again, the best spiritual kids, what do they need? They need spiritual life, not an institution again. So, so I always say like this, again, come back to live the life, share Jesus with your kids, and you are the best teacher they have in their life. You're the best example they have. And then give what you can and thank God for His grace to give the last thing.
Yeah, I think when it comes to children, I think it's something we have really seen is also like, it's so important what influence you allow the children to get, you know, from people around them, from social life, from TVs, movies, just everything, you know. It's, for us, it's just really been important, you know, that I like the Bible verse, you know, Proverbs 22:6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And I think, you know, that's what we really believe, you know, like even when we live this life, it's not a normal childhood, you know, they don't have the same school, they don't have the same activities, they grow up differently, but we want them to live differently. We want them to live this life led by the Spirit. And that's the example that we want to show them. And, you know, even when we discipline, you know, we want to discipline God's way. You know, when we train them, we want to do it God's way. When we, you know, speak to them about life, we want to give them God's idea because, you know, the foundation that we are laying in our children is the foundation that they're going to stand on. And I think, you know, of course, you know, there's grace and God, He can come in and He can renew the children, you know, by the Spirit. But even for us, you know, that where we are a Christian family, it's so important that we really take this call faithfully to really disciple our children. And I think that's something that Hannah and I, we talk about a lot, you know, how we do that and, you know, really being a godly father and a godly mother, because we want to also structure our family and the way we do things on the Word of God. So, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't want to indoctrinate our kids. If you don't want to indoctrinate your kids, don't get kids. You should really want to indoctrinate them as much as you can. Brainwash them. Get that dirt out of their mind, influence them, convince them, persuade them. Like the whole idea, yeah, but we don't want to. Come on, it's life and death. It's true. We should be people one. Of course, it should come from inside as a life. But when you get kids, you don't put words. You make sure they eat the right thing. You don't let your kids sit there in the dirt and eat wrong things. The same way you don't want them to put the wrong thing in the mouth. You should help them with what they put in the brain. So there is a way. Well, of course, we want to give them life, and I think that is very, very important.
And I think, some people, they think like, if the children don't go to school, if they don't have a normal childhood, they're going to grow up weird. But we are supposed to be a little weird, right? We're not supposed to conform to this world. We are supposed to be different. We're supposed to have a different DNA, a different identity. And I think that's really what we want to give the children. We don't want them to be like the world. We want them to have God's DNA. So I think that's, another thing. So that's kind of it for tonight, or not tonight, for now. And I think we'll just maybe end up with a last word for everyone.
Yeah, you can say something. I can say something. Okay, but last word, I would say there is truly many minus with living this life. There is things that is very complicated for us. Right now it's complicated with Simone and Joshua and get their papers, or for them it's complicated with different countries and getting married, and so it's complicated for me with me because I'm no man land right now traveling around. It's complicated with many things. It's very expensive in another way. We buy things and then we move and give it away, and buy things and move again and give it away, and then we need to buy things again, and it's so. It's complicated and it's not easy, and there is many times in this life where, now we don't speak the language, we need to call anyone and things don't work and we move again. There's so many minuses with living this life, and there's so many times it could be so much easier, so much more comfortable, so much cheaper, so much and more to just have the same place and have time and live a more normal life. But on the other side, there is so much adventure. There is so much riches. There is so many experience. There is so much fruit of living this life. And we haven't found our easy answer where we can go get the best of both worlds. We just haven't. So we have just needed to again and again and again look at each other and say, life is hard, life is complicated, and we are tired of it. But hallelujah, we love this life, we love the fruit, and we could not see ourselves do anything else. So I think it really, you had to take both sides in at the same time. And I think that is the decision. Like live on a camp, it's not easy for you right now. I think some of you really miss not living in a dorm room with a lot of people making noise and snoring, and not be in a place where there's no water, not all of this. Okay, but what is the alternative sometimes? Being home alone and not have friends around you, and not have people around you, and not have anyone take you out on the street, and not get the chance to baptize and pray and all of that. And it's just how it is. There is so many pluses on one side, but at the same time, there is so many minuses on the other side. And then we just need to make up our decision, what do we want? And I haven't seen only pluses. But maybe you can get it to work in your life. That would be good for you. Go for it. But I know we choose this side because it's more fruitful, it's more amazing, and we could not see ourselves doing anything else, even that would be much easier. So go for the amazing thing. Yeah, that's my word.
Yeah, I don't feel like we have a choice because we need to do God's will, right? So it's up to what God tells us to do. We need to do because God sent us here for a reason, right? A purpose, and we need to fulfill that, each one of us, and that's the main focus. And if we all do that, it will all work out, right? So that's my main focus. And yes, it's not easy. I will not say that, but at the same time, I think for me, I know you can dream back maybe and say, oh, that could be nice to go back to Denmark and just be there for a little while and just, oh. But I know myself that good that it could work for a few weeks, but then I'm not satisfied anyway. Because if you first tasted this life, you will not be satisfied in a normal life. And that's God's work in you, because He drives us. He kind of drives us. It's not like, of course we have a choice, but still He's pushing us. He's pushing us out there. We're getting desperate because we're not born to live like regular people. So it's the way He's pushing us that we get desperate after something else, because He's put something else in our hearts, and He's put that longing in our hearts. So we need to be out there, and that's our call. That's the purpose He put us here. So just keep running, even though it's not always easy. And if you're in a hard time, there will be another season. So it's not like every season is hard. But of course, some challenges come up here and there, but seasons change also. So just be faithful in the season you're in right now, and keep walking, and things will change.
Yeah, I think what I want to say is similar. I think what I really want to say is don't compromise. You know, I think it's so easy to compromise. It's so easy to, you know, start doing good things in your own thoughts with your own ideas, and just, you know, even live this life as a disciple for yourself. But, you know, if you go home, you know, you can do all of these things. You can, you know, go on the street, you can find fellowship, you can do a lot of things, but it can still be a compromise. I really encourage, you know, all of you to really learn to walk with the Spirit. Understand that God really has a specific call for each one of you. You know, He really has a plan for you. And don't just compromise. Don't just be a above average Christian, but really find out, like, what is it God has for you? And really trust Him, and really learn to walk in obedience, because we can do a lot of good things in our own strength, but the true satisfaction really comes from being exactly in what God wants us to be in, where He wants us to be, what He wants us to do. Really find that walk with God and see how He directs you step for step. And I think, you know, many people, you know, in the Christian world, they do what they know. You know, they're good Christians. They serve in the church. They try to do good. They try to do what they know as good. And I think, you know, even for us, you know, like leaving this place, we can continue doing that. We can continue doing what we think is good. Our understanding might have changed a little bit on this school, because we understand that there's more to it than just going to church. But even that, you know, it's not enough. The true life is really coming to this place of surrender and really learning to walk by the Spirit wherever He leads you and whatever He puts on your heart, because He has a very specific plan for each one of us. And this walk with God, it is a personal thing, having this intimacy with Him and just learning to recognize His voice and His guidance. Yeah.
Hallelujah.